It's like 12:34 a.m. right now, but I just felt inspired to do this. So here we go. I have had the worst, maybe one of the most challenging times of my life. Give or take. It's been really hard though since Pluto went back into Capricorn. Literally the day that Pluto was going back into Capricorn, like it's crazy to me how accurate astrology can be. Like the more you learn about the complexity of it. And I'm a triple Aries. So that's meant that this Pluto has been squaring like all my shit for 16 years. It's been in Capricorn for 16 years anyway. And I only recently realized because another astrologer on YouTube talked about it that's meant that it's been squaring my Libra as well. So that helps to explain why forming any kind of relationship with the people that seem to be part of my tribe has been impossible. It just feels like I can't find them. Like, and it's made me wonder, like, maybe they're not on Earth, but they have to be, because I think so many of us who were here, like at the fall of Atlantis and stuff, are here now. And, like we're going through this crucial time on Earth through Ascension and like the rise of the feminine and stuff. So, like, there have to be people here, that I've spent multiple past lives with, that we're gonna, who people that I'm going to help and who are going to help me in like our life's mission, right? And I think I do know who one of them is, and that it's the director that I've talked about. Now I feel weird saying his name, but his initials are MM, I'll say that. I mean, I was just thinking in the shower a second ago that because I felt inspired to do this and I felt like taking a shower first, that there's like this kind of precious time a little bit, and that very few people listen to these slash watch these spiritual crypto recordings that I do, but there's that time when you don't feel like anyone is hearing you or listening to you or interested. And then later, whenever you have more eyes on you, that time can feel more precious or something. So I don't even know who I'm talking to when I share this, except that I'm trying to document things and I'm trying to share, like, the truth is, the sad truth that I'm trying to work through is that I sort of imagine a vague person who hates me and isn't really listening or interested in what I have to say. Isn't that sad? Yeah, because that's been my experience so much at the time, and it goes back to my family of origin. And I was thinking recently too about like Judd Apatow wrote this book, right? Born Sick in the Head. Sick in the Head is his book. The first version, the first edition. And I remember in that book he was talking about like during Freaks and Geeks, which was this great show. I feel like I've said this. Have I said this in a recording? Am I having deja vu or something? He said that um he said that he was having all this trouble with Freaks and Geeks at the studio when, like, just dealing with the way the executives were giving him trouble, and eventually the show got canceled like prematurely. And he said there was like a female executive and a male executive, I think. And he said he was turning the man into his dad and the woman into his mom. And once he like healed that and moved through it, then his career suddenly took off. And right now, I am turning like every shitty, evil corporate institution, all the toxic masculine energy in all authorities, in fucking capitalism itself. That is like my experience with my dad. But it kind of isn't. Like that side of it is more healed in that because my dad by the end of his life, I think largely because I stepped away, I removed myself from the family, so like he couldn't attack me as the narcissist in the family anymore, and I was strong enough or whatever as the scapegoat to get out. And that was really, I want to say, for anyone out there who has also grown up in a narcissistic family, if you were the scapegoat kid, truly, if you're conflicted about going no contact, once you've tried literally everything else, I mean, I tried literally everything else. I'm not saying you have to go that far, wait that long. It's not only a kindness to yourself to go no contact, but it's a kindness for everyone else involved too. And it's better for them. And I saw that in, like, I didn't have contact with him again and then he died. But I saw through what I heard from the family that he started like reflecting more. He changed a bit. He actually seemed to turn that negativity inward more so, and he became a deeply negative person, I guess, by the end of his life, like to a really extreme degree. But that was like that set both of us on our paths, like along the journeys that we're supposed to continue on. If I had stayed in that family structure, well, I'm like having insights now that are helping me at this moment in time too. If I had stayed in that family structure and continued just like taking that abuse and thinking that I had to do it for out of some kind of duty to the family or something, or like to my mom, because the other thing is that when my dad was such a focal point because he was so obviously abusive, I couldn't even see, like, I thought my mom was a martyr for years. And I couldn't see the fact that I saw this, somebody wrote this on Reddit in this post I was reading the other day, this comment. They said something about like how you don't stay in an abusive relationship for the kids, you leave an abusive relationship for the kids and for yourself. And she didn't do that. She stayed. And it wasn't for the kids either. It was about, I remember one time when I was like a teenager, it must have been not too long after I gave her this stack of evidence that I found that showed that he'd been cheating on her like perpetually in this really bizarre way that involved lots and lots of women, to the extent that one of the women got angry and like printed out these letters and sent them to a bunch of other women that he'd been having affairs with, apparently. So she like, the woman he was having an affair with wanted to out him to the other women, and he hired a private investigator to figure out who had done that. And he had like, I found all this shit in his office. It was like a bad Lifetime movie, and I was 18 years old, like newly 18 as well. um so she had all that evidence, and I remember I was like sitting at the kitchen table, and she like walked past looking up, didn't make eye contact with me, and she said something like, "I'm not getting a divorce." And it was like in this tone of like a petulant child, as though she wanted to defy me, her teenage actual child, by saying that or something. So it was just, she was always like a child. She's still like a child, I think. Um, and she wasn't a martyr. She was an adult person who chose to prioritize a man who was being abusive to her child and also cheating on her a shit ton and lying about it. Just, that's what she chose. And yeah, so the little epiphany I just had that helps, wow, my energy is like getting better, it's not so fucking like depressed and just bitter. Like I'll come back to that. I need to come back to the realization I just had. I'll just say it first, and then I'll talk about bitterness. The realization I just had as I was speaking, which is why it's so helpful to do these sessions for me, at least, is that like I realized in saying that I removed myself from the family structure, but I'm still obviously carrying the vestiges of that now. If I'm like feeling into patterns that are similar to that energy in my work and in my regular life. And so I need to remove myself from that too, and set those boundaries very clearly, and that'll be better for everybody involved. And that includes what's up with seeds. Regarding bitterness, I'm kind of freaked out in that, I mean, I noticed like I made a video, like a short today for the first time in a while because I stopped using TikTok because I hate it there now because it's so like TikTok Shop ruined everything, and CapCut. It just became so much more corporate and gross. And it was really exciting and fun and creative and collaborative in like late 2020, early 2021. I was so excited about it then. I really was. And that's, capitalism does this to so many interesting tech projects that are bringing people together to create things. So I stopped posting on TikTok for the most part, but I did see something today that seemed worth sharing because it could help people out potentially. Let me actually look at the price right now. I have it open. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I'll talk about that too, what was in the content of the short itself. But I made that short, and like when I was watching it back, y'all, like my face, I've noticed it some. I mean, I'm still going through eating disorder recovery, and I just had a little bit of a, it's not a relapse exactly, but I don't know what to do kind of, because like I'm off food. I'm just not very interested in food. I get hungry and I eat, but I know I'm not eating enough again. And so I've gotten fatter again. Like my face looks more bloated again. And like my body thinks I'm restricting, I think. And I don't know how to get around that. And it's so fucking hard. You have to buy food. It's so expensive. Something about the energy and food in the States is just so like, it makes it seem even harder than it needs to be. Like when I've traveled abroad to places like recently in Canada and in the UK, just seemed easier to get decent, healthy, good quality food at like like kind of anywhere. And the States makes that fucking more difficult. But so that's some like my face just looks, it's just more bloated. And but I've just looked, there's like something is hardening and it's kind of freaking me out. I need to meditate more so that can soften and release, because I don't want to have so much ill will and hatred in me, and I'm feeling so much hatred lately. And I know that like um in like the Buddhist text, it talks about how you don't fully transcend ill will until you're like at the stage. I think it's actually not until you're fully liberated. I think you still have some ill will at the stage just below full liberation. Um, so yeah, it's something that we have with us for long periods of time, and I think a lot of people don't really talk about navigating feelings of hate and ill will, especially women. I think because we're socialized to not do that, and it can be even more dangerous when we express it in some ways because people don't like it when there's an angry, fat, middle-aged bitch talking kind of thing. That's what I'm feeling anyway. Um, yeah, and I just don't want to kind of succumb to that. And I think when I was talking about how it's been so difficult lately, since literally since Pluto went into Capricorn, like August 31st, heading into September 1st, these energies have been hitting me so hard. And I know it's Pluto in the anaretic degree, the 29th degree of Capricorn, and that's typically when the shadow stuff comes out and it's really strong. It's at its strongest because it's about to leave Capricorn to go into Aquarius, and it's just fucking pummeling me. Like we had these issues with fucking Stripe, the payment processor, suddenly like freezing all of Seed's money, which was really scary, and we couldn't do shit about it, and their customer service was garbage, and it was just like a nightmare. And then I was trying to migrate it away to Square, which isn't ideal either and is actually a little bit more expensive. And it's like comical to see how difficult it is to get this fucking billion-dollar company to take on like a new customer, in that we were trying to migrate our data to Square, and they're just their customer service, it requires some team internally at Square to like decrypt the data, and they just it's like unreal that you can't, I mean, oh my god, like nobody fucking there knows what we're talking about, and we've had to say the same thing over and over and over, and it's just crazy that it's that like it can't be anything except for this energy trying to like be disruptive, I think. And it means that we shouldn't use Square, but the thing that I struggle with so much in like fucking living on earth at this time in history is that like there aren't a lot of options, right? Like we still need fucking shit like that, payment processors to deal with fiat money, to buy stuff so that we can live inside a building and whatever. And Seed still needs that because the vast majority of Seed's givers give with cards. And like, so it's just like, yeah, it's fucking shitty and I hate it, but like, there isn't what is better. There isn't something that's better that's available yet. And I can't personally build that yet. And it wouldn't make sense anyway, because like society slash humanity hasn't evolved far enough yet to like meet that thing. That's what I struggle with. It's just like, yeah, okay, I can try to like set the boundary and go to something else. But what if there's nothing else on Earth because the Earth is so fucking dense and like like low vibration? And then I get into this loop that doesn't do me any good because I'm here. I'm fucking here. I've been here for 40 years. It seems like I'm going to have to live a long life this time around. So I have to just deal with it, and it'll change and whatever. Anyway, and I know it's like I it's not my life's path to build that particular tool. I have a pretty good sense, I think, of what my life's path is, and it's not that. So that happened. And then on the day, as I started saying, like, oh, the day that Pluto was going into Capricorn, I suffered this, oh my God, y'all, like this enormous theft. What for me was an enormous theft. And it wasn't because I did anything security wise with my cryptocurrency wallets that I shouldn't have done. It wasn't anything like that. It was because I helped somebody, I helped a man. The sound cut out here, which I think is really weird and interesting because that's never happened before that I can recall. And I think it's also another sign of the energies fucking with me. But basically, I was just talking about how this happened, this theft happened,
because I helped somebody. And his response to that kindness was to try and fucking destroy me.
Oh my gosh. I think I remember why I'm having deja vu, because I think I did talk about this some when I was making videos, because I want to put together like a corporate fascism, Pluto leaving Capricorn video or something. And I talk about this a bit. So that happened, and I reported it immediately to the local cops, and I reported it to the FBI's online bullshit thing. And it was just like torture to even get cops to respond to me. And then they said they wouldn't help, and they sent me to the FBI, who had never responded in the previous 4 weeks or whatever up to that point since I filed the initial report. I fucking went to the local office to talk to somebody, because there's like a, what are those called? Field, it's a field office. And then some fucking shitty asshole fucking piece of shit. See, like, this is like, I hate this I feel hatred for this person. And he just sounded like kind of a dumb guy. And I think part of me could energetically sense some of his backstory, how he got into that role. He was apparently the head of the white collar squad. Oh boy. He essentially told me that they wouldn't help because I didn't have enough money stolen from me. So when I was like at the end of the second conversation, and I recorded this, so I'm going to put this in another edited video. It was like kind of actually very cinematic, I think, or at least it felt that way as I was recording it. At the end of this conversation, I was like, how do you sleep at night knowing that you only help rich people? And the fucker hung up on me. Can you believe that? I was using those funds to support myself, essentially to make money off of them, so that Seeds hasn't had to pay me. Seeds hasn't paid me a salary in many years anyway. And Seeds like helps with some things that I can use. Like there are other tax related things you can do. But like, so the Seeds money was cut off. And then the money that I was using to support myself was also stolen. And I'm like, at least I've been wise enough to diversify to an extent. But like, it was just like, wow. It was like, wow. And that really pushed me into this territory that was like much more bitter and angry and frankly suicidal. Like I would never commit suicide because it's such a violent act. And I know it's a huge, enormous gift. It's a gift to be alive as a human at this time on earth. I know that's true. That's part of why it feels so hard right now, because it's like, I think it's like the butterfly coming out of the cocoon time or whatever. But in addition to that, I am a human who found Vipassana and has started developing in Vipassana. So this is like a super valuable lifetime where if there was someone really spiritually developed walking the earth now, and I don't think there really is. I don't think there are many, if any. I would just go follow that person. So yeah, I think, my elder years are probably going to be spent meditating most of the time. But right now I'm supposed to be working on Seeds, and I'm supposed to get this film out there as well that I've been wanting to make, this clown film. And yeah, I've just been feeling so much, not only the saving grace to an extent is that it's so sort of like obviously attacking that it's comical. Like it's like, so I can't chalk it up to something else. It just seems very clear that these energies are attacking me. And there's other like boring examples too. Like 8 things happened all at once. Like I filed an insurance claim for that theft, and they offered me $200 after like yelling at me on the phone in the first call when I was like asking basic questions. And then I asked to have another person, like, that was the person who was deciding the reward amount too. So I like asked them to give me a different person. And her job probably is really shitty, and she's probably having a bad day. But like, it was crazy that she was just like yelling at me on the phone. And then they never replied when I asked like 5 times to just have a different adjuster. And then they just sent me this thing like, we're going to give you $200. So then I had to research that. Apparently, you can sue them. I didn't know this before, but there are like lawyers who are devoted to just like negotiating settlements with insurance companies after they lowball the fucking people who pay them so that they can get help when something bad happens. Related to that, kind of tangential, I thought of Seeds as like a next, like a higher vibratory sort of version of insurance in a way, and that we have to get insurance in the US. I mean, not that they give us fucking health insurance, but like they'll force you to get car insurance. I had renter's insurance because I was renting this house and I'm still renting this house. Like you have to pay for it, and then they're shitty to you, and they give you a fucking lowball offer. And insurance companies are among the richest organizations on the earth. They're huge investors, as I understand, in like private equity funds and hedge funds and all this shit. And seeds is the other side of that. Like you can choose to help people in need and you get a gift, you get seeds and thanks. And then if those go up, you've experienced more abundance, like tangibly or whatever. Like seeds doesn't force people to do anything. Whew. Yeah. And then other boring things like the storage unit that I have my shit at is like attached all of these additional charges that they say are because of a late fee slash returned payment fee. And though I showed them bank proof that no such return slash late fee existed, they continued lobbying these charges. So I just like refused to pay them. And now they're threatening to sell my shit. So I have to literally sue them. So I'm like doing all this legal stuff as well. It's like taking up a ton of time and energy. I mean, I'm learning more about how to handle these situations from a legal standpoint in a way that gets the corporations to actually fucking stop abusing you. But it's just like all of it at once. And it's about my material like existence. Pluto and Capricorn in the last degrees, right? And it's just been it's felt kind of debilitating. It has, and I've had a lot of moments of yeah, just like just despondence. And I don't have anyone that would help me. I would just if I needed money, I should be fine, but like I would just use seeds to ask for help. But that is a good tangent then to take me into like I think the other thing this energy is doing right now is that even some folks through seeds who had been supporters in the past, there's like a weird energy there now where okay, this takes me back to what I was saying earlier where I was talking about like me turning the whole structure of the capitalistic system and toxic masculinity into my dad, my experience with my dad. But it's not quite like that because he wasn't like threatening by the end of his life. I was no longer, I healed enough of that. But this toxic masculine energy, man, and the way it fucking like can make you homeless and stuff. So there's some stuff coming up through the seeds community and it's shining a mirror back at me. That's not a phrase. It's holding a mirror back at me and making me realize like I'm putting so much energy into people that aren't really listening and aren't really understanding slash aren't really interested. Even recently, someone that I think of as very sweet is confused about something and has been confused a bunch of times and asked me to do a one-on-one and I offered to do it and then she didn't reply. So like, or she didn't reply and like to way after the time frame I said I could do it. So it's like stuff like that and it just made me realize like seeds can't get big if I'm putting all my energy into that and it's like the energy it's like a sieve, right? It's not being received, it's not being like appreciated and recognized for what it is, for like what I'm offering. And it makes sense that I would continue to do that because that's all I've done for my whole life. But then I'm getting angrier about it. That's the thing, right? Like and that I don't want that. It's not, I want to release that hatred and ill will and anger and annoyance and frustration, like all forms of that energy to the greatest extent that I can. And so I think what that means is that I have to set other boundaries. It's probably going to mean that I can't be in our Discord as much as I had been because it's happening some there. Um, and then that leads me to part of what gave me the surge of energy, I guess, tonight that made me want to record. This is kind of weird. I don't know how weird it is. I don't know. I wonder if like looking back and listening to this in the future, if it'll be interesting to me, let alone to anybody else. But okay. So if you know, if you've heard me talk about MM and past lives and the fall of Atlantis and feeling like this person was there at the fall of Atlantis and me recognizing this person in this life after I saw a movie. You can watch if you feel like it. If you're on my YouTube channel, you can watch the video I made about going to TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival. I talk more about it there. So I don't know this person, and it's like a semi-famous person. I've never met them, and I've been convinced for 5.5 years that this he is that person from my Atlantis past life, which I also talk about on my YouTube channel if you feel like listening to that, and multiple other past lives. I think I've known him for a while. And yeah, I mean, I think I've been had to be so hyper independent in this life to come through some sort of gamut isn't the right word. What's the word for that? Gar something. I don't know. What's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? I think it starts with G. It was just going to be really hard for a long time, and it felt like I was going to be almost totally by myself almost all of the time for a long time. And then, and then I would be able to meet him, and then we would do these things that are about grounding and helping to nurture this new beautiful like healthy divine feminine energy that earth that is part of this age that we're moving into, right? So I think that actually is close. I think I'm gonna have to make this clown film, and that's actually how I'm gonna connect with it. Like I need to write it. I have to write the script. And then what I felt I got clear on at TIFF, excuse me, because he was at TIFF. I went to TIFF to see a film that he had, that he directed, that he had at the festival. And I went because I love film, but like that was the driving force for that specific festival at that time. So yeah, I'm just gonna do that. I think I'm gonna make a video because it just seems kind of fun, where I just like try and like speed run the first draft of the script and make like a YouTube video about it. And it felt like I had to get through more of this energy that's trying to fucking make me die first in order to even be in the a bit of a creative space. Because I've noticed, like, I mean, I've been writing bits and pieces of it for many years now, for like 6 years. The idea first came in when I was meditating. The like image of the last scene came in when I was meditating. It's just a black screen with lots of purple lights showing up over, and we know as viewers that it represents the world, like these purple lights, dots of purple light coming on around the world. That image came in one time when I was doing Vipassana meditation in like late 2018. So it's kind of good to remember that because, man, late 2018, I was broke. I didn't know it was going to happen. And then things changed pretty fast. That spiral course of progress idea, again, I'm further down the spiral now for sure than I was back then. Anyway, when I'm talking about what sort of I think gave me a little bit more energy to want to make this today. Okay, so I don't know Max M. His first name's Max. I don't know him at all in real life. I'm embarrassed to even talk about this. And I'm not connected to him in any way except for one sort of pseudo connection, which is that there is a person that he follows and vice versa on Twitter that also follows Seeds and Seeds follows. He followed me too personally, and then he like unfollowed me a long ass time ago. And this person is a tech founder who has raised a fuck ton of money from like fancy ass venture capital, like among the fanciest venture capitalists that exist. The truly actually the fanciest because it's like Sequoia. But this person has so much male privilege. How do I was trying to define it earlier to myself in the shower, like trying to put it into words because I felt this aversion to him for a while. And I don't think it's just because I'm mad that he unfollowed me, but I'm sure it's not. He just seems to have this like I mean it's male privilege because sometimes I'll see stuff that he says online and I just like can't believe it's like nothing I would ever dream of saying. The type like you know what I'm talking about if you're like not somebody who's benefited from male privilege and you've seen others benefit from it, you know what I'm saying, especially if you're a woman. Just the kind of shit that he would say to people that's just like not gracious and like entitled. I know guys like that just do it without a second thought. And I just like, I wouldn't dream of speaking that way in that context. And a lot of it is because women get attacked for it more viciously. Like, I mean, he's not getting attacked for it at all. It's just people just defer to it. Anyway, so I thought, I actually made TikToks about this years ago. I'd wondered if, like, and it feels like this is actually, this might be the case. There's some kind of something there that I think is going to be some sort of related to a connection that I'll later make when I meet MM in person through this guy. Not like he would introduce us, but I can just feel it. I could especially feel it today. There's something there that leads to some like, do you know what I'm saying? Like there've been a handful of times in my life, especially with seeds, where like I would see that something kind of had a momentum of its own. I remember one time when we were raising some money and like somebody recommended us to somebody else and I saw like, oh, I'm not the engine behind this in any way. It just seems like it's coming to us. It seems like it's lining up. It feels a little bit like that, but there's like more negative energy in it. in that, okay, so this person just launched a meme coin like last night. And it went up, I guess, a lot today. And I ended up buying some because I saw well, the one of the main reasons was that I saw on Twitter that this person, and this is legal, somebody like a whale who bought a bunch of it early wanted to sell it because it wasn't going up enough for his liking. And so this guy, T, I'll call him T, he replied to this person's tweet and was like, hey, don't sell it on the market. I'll buy it from you directly. DM me. I would never use that tone talking to a person, first of all, in that position. Like, what? But yeah, apparently he did. And I mean, the post that confirmed it was confusing because I don't know. I saw a post confirming that he did make that direct sale, and he must have because it didn't, nobody tanked the price like in a way that the price has come back down, but it doesn't look like it's because a whale sold a bunch, like a single whale, I don't think. And it looked like it cost like maybe 1.5 million or something to buy that back from the person, something like that. Something seems not right there with that calculation. But the reason I'm sharing this is that means that this founder who has raised a fuck ton of money from the fanciest of venture capitalists, as I've said, is publicly saying that he's going to buy to like keep the price from tanking. So knowing that and knowing that he's so well funded, I figured like, well, I can probably ride this. And I'm not into meme coins, but maybe I can make some money off of this and move it into something else. And then also something about the project is kind of interesting in that it's AI related. Like there's like an AI, it's almost like the mascot, I guess, of the token. So it seems like they're maybe figuring out a way for AI and cryptocurrency to work together that looks more interesting than anything else I've seen so far. So related to that, like yesterday he posted something on Twitter and I responded to it from the Seeds account, like explaining something about crypto that it didn't seem like he knew. And I linked to like my YouTube account, but I also in the tweet said something like you could find, who cares though? Like that's the beauty of like no one ever listening to these, but maybe people will listen to them in the future. Anyway, I linked to my YouTube channel and I mentioned our course. And so this dude today, and my intuition is just so strongly telling me that it is a result of me making this tweet to this person because it's not like he had a ton of replies and there weren't any other video replies that I saw. So today he makes a YouTube post, a video talking about what's going on. And he says something about how like the other reason he wanted to make it is because so many things on YouTube are lies and it's like people just trying to like try to sell you their course or whatever. And I think that was a response to what I posted.
This is editing Rachel, but I wanted to say that to be clear, what I mean is that I think he was like talking shit about me in his video, but I don't know that. That's just my sense. If it's real though, it takes me back to the male privilege thing and how much money that guy has raised from venture capitalists. And then, like I created the How to Build Abundance in Crypto course to support Seeds because VC discriminates so much against women. Like 98% of the funds, more than 98% of VC funds go to men. So, yeah, that thing of scammy people who are mostly male making not good courses and selling them, and then me getting lumped in with that by somebody who's gotten millions of dollars. It's just another example of this thing that's happened a lot, of me being shoved by this toxic masculine energy, sort of like between a rock and a hard place. But again, I don't know. He did not specifically make fun of me in this video. It just seems like that is likely what he was pointing toward. And in a fun turn of events, he deleted the video as well as every tweet he had made referencing the video. And I've tweeted at him twice now to ask like why he deleted it and why he deleted the tweets referencing it and why there's no explanation regarding why he did that I can find anywhere. And he has not responded so far.
And I also wondered because I made that short that I mentioned earlier. And in that short, I talk about how he's like a rich dude and whatever. And he's clearly publicly stating that he's willing to prop up the price by buying the coins directly. And I actually checked the time to see if I had posted the short before he made this YouTube video because it seemed like it was such a direct response to what I'd said in the short, but it looks like he posted before I did. Anyway, it just, yeah, that connection seems to be there. And I'm just sharing this. Why? I don't know, because I have this intuitive sense that there is a little something else there and it's giving me a little bit more energy, like creative energy, or like I'm not just so fucking like, oh my God, I want to get the fuck off of Earth type of energy. It's just like, there's nothing here for me feeling. And also just listening to this video, it's just like there are things I guess I should borrow from that type of mentality, because he's talking about like getting it on a centralized exchange, multiple centralized exchanges already, and like how he's had all these inbound points of contact from like market makers. And I don't even know how that works, like how you get market makers and then launch on a centralized exchange. But like if your thing is just a fucking meme coin, it's not going to have upside. Like it could have, it'll go up when cryptocurrency goes up, like if history tells us anything. But at the end of the day, if it isn't tethered to some kind of perception of real value, and if it isn't just pumping and pumping and people are FOMOing in and stuff, it's not going to go, especially if you then launch it on a centralized exchange, because things can like spike a lot when you first do that and then fucking just pump and dump. But again, I shared with people that would watch that video that I bought some of this because he's propping up the price. Because if somebody who has access to all that money is doing it, like the rest of us should also benefit if it works out. You know, I didn't put in like an amount of money that it would destroy me to lose or something like that, but you know, like a little chunk of money. So that's the other reason, like I have some now. If I have a chunk before it launches on centralized exchanges, especially like prominent ones like Coinbase or something, it often things will really spike when they first launch on those centralized platforms. So I could play that. So we'll see. So it's got me trading more actively again. I hadn't done that in a while because there didn't seem like there was much to do that was worth doing in terms of actively trading outside of like LPing and making money off of an LP position. I made videos about that too if you feel like watching them on YouTube. I feel better. Thank you. Whoever is on the other side of this. I don't imagine it being someone who hates me anymore. It just it feels like the energy was blocked up and now it's moving through. Yo, this other like I listen to a lot of YouTube tarot readers and readers generally and like astrologers. And they're just like over the years I found a couple that I think are actually quite gifted. And I was listening to the one who maybe is I think the most gifted in terms of her intuition the other day. It was a reading for Aries, and she was just like talking about how the Aries person's energy was nice, but there was all of this energy around it that was trying to attack it and put it off of its path, like its life mission, which is a pretty like I think there are pretty severe penalties if you do that to somebody else, like in future lives. Oh, that's got me thinking about my aunt. And I want to, yeah, I guess I was starting to feel better because I'd like expressed a lot of where my rage is at, like why I'm feeling this hatred and ill will. And so it's like the energy is moving through now. So I'm not just like holding it in my body where it's like festering. I mean, I'm still meditating, which gets it out from the root, but also talking can, you know, move energy in certain ways too. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, the last thing that's really getting me, I think, is that, I mean, I even realized, I'll say this first, this expression, it's like another layer, right? Coming out of narcissistic family structures and you're the scapegoat kid. Like there's so many layers of narcissism and like people expressing it at you that for me, I think this is common, that for me at least, I couldn't see. Like there was like the really obvious attacks from my dad. And so I like eventually got out of that. And then it was like dating abusive narcissistic boyfriends, getting out of that after periods of many years and lots of terrible experiences, then like healing on my own for many years now too. And then it gets subtler, like then I started to be able to recognize my mom's contribution to enabling it and how that was very bad and how she wasn't actually this martyr that needed to be protected. Like she was complicit to an extreme degree and also super neglectful and more. I think there's more there that she is accountable for. I mean, the energies will take care of that. She'll have to work out her own karma. I think I'm getting closer to forgiving that, and that's part of what this is about too. But yeah, even just like a couple days ago, for example, there was like a comment on one of my YouTube videos. I'm so online, I'm so like terminally online, but part of it is healing from the eating disorder still. So I'm like just like not in the world. I'm still resting and stuff more. But anyway, somebody made this comment and it was just like it wasn't a mean comment. It was just really depleting. It made me feel really drained. But I was thinking like, oh, this video doesn't have very many views yet. You're supposed to like engage with the comments and that helps the algorithm, blah, blah. But then I just realized like, no, like I can just not engage with this and I can even hide this person from the channel And I did that, and it was like, oh yeah, I should just be doing that more all the time. Like, I can wish that person well. I hope they have a good life, but I don't need to. That's, you see what I'm saying, like, about my mindset. I'm thinking like, oh, I have to subject myself to this small example of depleting energy because I need it in order for other people to see this so that it can support the project and help us get out of fucking this awful situation we're in on earth, because that's like the larger mission of seeds. And I think that's a lot of what I'm meant to try and help with here on earth in this lifetime. But I don't have to do that. Like, that doesn't actually help me, certainly, but it doesn't help largely anyone at all. It doesn't help that person because you shouldn't meet the depleting energy. And it doesn't help for me to be really angry and just so drained that I'm like, my health is a mess. That isn't what's going to help seeds, like, help, reach everybody in the world or whatever. Like, I hope that it can eventually do. So yeah, it's more of that. I have two more thoughts, I guess, or two more small topics. Yeah, relating to that, I talked to like somebody who's been involved with the seeds community for many years, who I really admire and who's done a lot of great work. But just talking to that person, I realized like how much they don't uh, know even now about stuff that I think is pretty basic ideas. And it was also so disappointing because they told me before that they're a giver, which is so appreciated, but they said they were going to increase their gifts, and they seem to like have forgotten that they said that. So like we can go back and like ask nicely and stuff, but it felt like it is of this energy also. And like, and I mean, they have other things going on in their life. There was like a nonprofit connection there because I want to do this thing where we're creating like our mutual aid pool for nonprofits and helping it grow with nonprofits to like create this alternative to how nonprofits have to get money typically because it's limited and so many are under resourced. And I want social good organizations to benefit from this cryptocurrency run. And this is a way to do it. And I think it's a really good fucking idea. But there's just so many hurdles that I'm running into, and it's been discouraging. I've talked about it on here some before, but yeah, I was just like disappointed talking to this person and realizing, wow, like the message just hasn't gotten through in all these years to this person. And I mean, it's on them to say that they're going to help a social good organization more and then like not do it, But it was just like, this is where we're at. Like, I gotta set gentle boundaries around this type of energy and point my energy toward connecting with the people who are going to be so elated about the work that we're doing. It's just I'm tired, so seeds feels more tired. And it's not like you get rewarded in the same way, not in this moment at least, for like being able to be that tenacious. Because like I've it's the truth is that I've gone through things that I haven't even heard of other founders experiencing. I don't know anyone else who got like, spent the night in a Nairobi jail when they were there working on their project. And most people aren't solo founders either. So I like honor myself for that. But the world doesn't care whenever I seem tired and angry because I can't connect with the right people who will be able to help elevate it. And I think I also am not able to do that energetically right now yet either. And the Pluto squaring Libra is part of it, probably a big part of it. Yeah. And with the no support thing, like my aunt had emailed me. She's the only person in my family, like going back 2 generations, extended family, that I have slightly regular contact with. She emails me from time to time, but I haven't seen her in many years. I don't know how she views relationships because it isn't like it just seems like she thinks she should keep in touch or something. And so she'd emailed me the other day and I replied and I told her about this. It was the day that the FBI got back to me. And so I was really just furious and felt so hopeless and was so sad and angry. And I told her about it in this email, and she did reply at least. I think in the past when I've expressed anything that isn't like niceties, she's been avoidant, I think, but she did reply and she expressed empathy, but like the subtext was like, I know that she wouldn't be there for me if I really needed it because she hasn't been in the past when I've asked explicitly. And that's the best I have going for me in that family. And that's okay. I think I was born into it and I chose it to like prepare me for this mission and stuff. And I need to set a boundary around that too. And that feels more painful, I think. I could have replied already and I haven't yet. So it's like I'm letting the energy, like the hole that energy is hitting, the way it's burrowing in, like it's like an open wound a little bit. It's not a huge open wound or anything, but if I were a little more healed, I could have replied right away to set that boundary. But I'm it's just a little too painful still. And the boundary, I think, is just going to be like the truth, just to say, like, thanks for expressing empathy, but I can see that the subtext of this, because she didn't offer to help if I needed it or something like that. And that's what I would want to do if somebody that I loved told me that something devastating happened to them. I would want to offer my help in whatever way it was needed. I really just haven't had that at all. Isn't that so? It's just sad about Earth. It's sad that Earth is that way because it's that way for so many people. Starting to cry. So that's good though, in that, yeah, feels like I've moved through the rage layer of the emotions coming up. And now I'm starting to release more of the grief. So this feels healthy. Thank you, internet, or whomever in the future maybe watches this or listens to it. Maybe more people will in the future. It's cool that stuff exists for such a long time that you can watch to see somebody's journey and stuff. I'm into that. All right, on that note, I'll let y'all go. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it this long, I appreciate you. I guess my next video will probably be on the other side of this energy. Pluto goes into Aquarius November 19th. So yeah, life could look very different in a short amount of time. And I'm just trying to remind myself that everything is always changing. And Nietzsche, sometimes change happens fast when you least expect it. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed sometime soon. It's 1:24 a.m. now. Bye.